How long should it take for a verdict?
Usually doesn't take long at all. It must have been more persuasive than I thought.
Thanks for what you've done for me.
Don't thank me yet. The odds are still very much against us.
What is it?
Blood wine. Should help make the wait more pleasant.
What's it the blood of?
Don't feel badly if you can't stomach it.
I didn't say that. How many cases have you won?
Oh, I'm not sure. Over 200. But that was a long time ago. And the tribunal was a forum for the truth and not a tool for the warrior class.
There are other classes?
You didn't believe all Klingons were soldiers.
I guess I did.
My father was a teacher. My mother, a biologist at the university. They encouraged me to take up the law. Now, all young people want to do is take up weapons as soon as they can hold them. They're told there's honor in victory. Any victory. What honor is there in a victory over a weaker opponent? Had Duras destroyed that ship, he would have been lauded as a hero of the Empire for murdering helpless refugees. We were a great society, not so long ago, when honor was earned through integrity and acts of true courage, not senseless bloodshed.
For thousands of years, my people had similar problems. We fought 3 world wars that almost destroyed us. Whole generations were nearly wiped out.
What changed?
A few courageous people began to realize they could make a difference.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.
As a researcher, don't take people's words from them. And please, don't believe what I tell you. Believe what's in your heart and what's in your mind. That's where real truth is. I've been teaching for 50-something years. And the one thing when people start telling me, please help me do that, no. You take the truth. Everything we tell you, part of it's truth for you, not all of it. The rest goes into the computer. And when it's needed, all of a sudden it pops up and you wonder where the hell it came from. Well, it's been there for a long time. And there's only one person you have to believe in. And that's the person you look at in the mirror when you get up in the morning. Love that person, and your life's going to be a lot easier in this world. Whether you like crystal skulls, whether you like crystals, whether you have generators. Today we have male crystals, we have female crystals, left-handed crystals, right-handed crystals. We have recording crystals, we have memory crystals, we have computer. Hey, a crystal is a crystal. But the biggest crystal of all is sitting in those chairs. Believe me, questions?
Hey guys, welcome. Andre Hodge, Infinite Potential Healing, Servant of Truth with you once more. Thank you for being here. This, as I said in the last video, truth needle in the haystack of falsehood out there and stuff. I just want to thank you for whatever you've had to endure and overcome to find me and to be up for this sort of content and information. As I've said many times, I love the discovery process and finding information, and a lot of my journey, I've sort of been appreciating that others have more talent and they've got more bells and whistles and all sorts of stuff, and who am I to sort of offer all this sort of stuff? But a big aspect of me and in my turtle mode that I've sort of said in the last video, so if you've watched that, I really appreciate it. Our intuitive potential for me is what it's all about. And in my discovery and my journey and my inner relentlessness of wanting to know, and it's not so much I need to know the answer, I just love the acquisition of data and knowledge and stuff and expanding my own view. So in my journey and what I offer now, it's just I found my own self-trust and courage and not being satisfied with what's out there. You know, I feel there's so much more. The unknown is so vast, and if you've really invested in the stuff that I've offered, say the last few months and this mighty year, that how it's been so far, then I've really gone into sort of uncharted territory with what I've offered. But the thing is, my attitude and motivation in what I do and interactions with people and stuff, there's this saying about give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish, feed him for life. Many of the ingredients that I do in what I offer is about teaching you how to information fish and trusting your own instincts, and perhaps you're vaster than anything out there, that you've just never been encouraged or supported or shown how epic you are, because you probably don't fit into the reality. So if you watched our Intuitive Potential Part 3, I thank you for that. I included some really potent clips of particularly the mechanics of how to train up geniuses, all right? It's all about the impartation of discovery process, all right? And as I said, in my mechanics, my whole theme or motivation in doing this is a lot of random events and just relentlessness and thoroughness and investing a lot of energy into covering a lot of bases and stuff has borne results for myself, which I know I can invest a lot of time, and I love that mastery of the focus and endurance and stuff back when I was an IT engineer, working a lot of hours, outside hours, and being on call and stuff, having to go into environments where there was a lot of stress and stuff, and you were expected to fix all the stuff because they were paying you a lot of money. There was a lot of ingredients relative to the emotional mastery sort of stuff that I said, but you can always choose the attitude and the emotional state that you're in for anything. And so with all those ingredients and, you know, attitudes and self-acceptance when no one else is going to give you validation and stuff like that, they're all ingredients to brewing our genius, which this reality would never accept, because if you've really appreciated the biggest scales of stuff that I've offered in the relative recent era of mine, where I'm going into my own unknown and trusting myself and offering stuff that's never been offered. So I'm taking considerable risk, but to me there's no other territory to be in. I would rather offer my own unique perspective now, because I've come through all that journey that, you know, I've imparted many times and stuff. So this is going to be Crystal Skulls Part 1. I don't know what I might name it and stuff, but if you go back a few months, and up until early February when I created the Universal Sovereignty Declaration, the new version, version 3, it was a very profound creation for myself, but brewed about what had been going on and doing my best to impart stuff that will help us overcome everything going on. And we've never been offered how vast and how crazy and how epic and how much has been done to us. So that was a huge investment for myself. It took about 2 months when I really got into it. And I'm due to do an upgrade and add more stuff, but I actually like this transition time of seeing where people are with that, you know. I've offered linguistics relative to pure source spiritual assembly for multiverse resolution, as it's just been another jigsaw puzzle in the puzzle I'm putting together from my own perspectives that I'm imparting to you guys to choose to process with or discard or whatever you want to do with it. I'm just going to push further ahead and keep offering and seeing what reveals for myself, right? And so this is a quite profound subject for me, because it's a very much an outlier. It wasn't anything expected or anything like that. But as I sort of alluded to, there's been a lot of interference and brewing all the data relative to all the influences going on with clients and just the diabolical shit that people are going through, and the definite targeting that's going on with me and stuff to be this tip of the truth spear on my perspectives that I feel are the truth, and I'll keep evolving it and correcting it if I am incorrect and stuff. But just imagine what it would be like if you come out and do these public shows and stuff and offer this stuff. Do you think you would come out and spout lies like a lot of the narrative is, or you might get a lot of pushback? And the thing is, like, I work with very highly intuitive people, and they can totally see through you, right? So I know, like, I'm a human lie detector. I know what the truth is behind people's lies and stuff like that. So from my perspective, being aligned with, say, the Guardian and the Asha material, and as I've said in the Amplify the Echo series, if you've invested in them and stuff, and the Influencer series, what we've been up against is so massive, right? I know, like I've said, it's like anytime I've done a little tiny thing wrong, I get absolutely smashed, okay? So if I came out and spouted lies and shit and falsehood and trying to lead you astray, and, you know, I would get massive pushback. So I'm still here, all right? I have a lot of data of what's been going on and stuff, and I could offer it more influences. I've got a couple of them up the sleeve, and another Galactic Special Forces or two as well. And I've got to finish off what I introduced in our Intuitive Potential Part 3, I just thought this would be a really good time to offer this content because, yeah, what I was getting to is crystal skulls, I know they're out there and I know people are fascinated about them, but I've never really given a crap about them, right? They're just interesting and all that sort of stuff, but I really love finding out about things and stuff like that. I would say from my perspective, the data that I've come across these things is a byproduct of looking for other things. And it just so happened, it became like, you know, my pattern recognition, the data sort of components, the puzzle relative to the crystal skulls that I didn't even know I was looking for came all together. And honestly, like when I was doing the declaration, like really intensely, like for 2 months, they are the ones that came to me, right? So, you know, I've got that image about the 22D and all that sort of stuff. I might just show it quick, right? This is one I showed in Influences Part 4. This is a bit of a mechanics of the reality and trying to get through to the 22D sort of stuff, right? So what I'm just offering and why I want to offer this relative to the crystal skulls is from my perspective, like when you get into that plain sailing, there's all this information out there waiting for us. And a lot of this sort of technology out there, you know, they're waiting for us to get there to be able to impart it to us. So I would offer just being so invested into creating that and being willing to put all that language together to actually be an ally for humanity. Say one of the byproducts of me is more awareness. And so it was really interesting. It was quite late into it, you know, just randomly it came to me, okay? You know what I'm like, I get a bit of a carrot sniff and it's like, crystal skulls, why are you coming up? And so, yeah, I'll just move on from this. And this is the conscious Tetris image that I've got on my Instagram and stuff like that. But just say, you know, I've been very expansive over the 15 years of investing in discovery and all that stuff and acquiring data and all that. And so I'm just offering it was an ingredient in my investment into creating that put a lot of data points together that gave me a pattern to get another layer of stuff, right? And so why I'm just saying this about me, it's, as I said in the last video, there's like this shoots growing of people and coming to their aha moments of breaking through all the barriers and stuff, right? That I would offer you guys out there that you may not feel like you're anything special or anything like that, but perhaps like it's all going to come together like the 18 for you soon, right? And that's why I just impart the way I do, because I just find it fascinating, right? And so one of the ingredients for me in the last couple of months has been the crystal skulls, and I've held off from them, right, deliberately. And as I said in the last video, I really got some big victories under my belt in certain ways, and I had to do a lot of healing, and I had to go to ground and isolate and process at a whole new level, because I could tell you what's going on with me, but I actually want to hold off, right? And I'd love to impart all the stuff as I had in the past, but I would just say it's very positive and stuff, and so there's been efforts to prevent that and stuff. But so what I did is, you know, in the last video I said I came across Lyndon LaRouche and offered those components, you know, relative to the intuitive potential and stuff, because most of society doesn't accept intuitive abilities and stuff, but as I'll look to offer, like it's been known for 50 years and there's been a massive effort to suppress it and that. But in that getting very, very clear and very potent, I really hit the information books, and then I discovered more content, right, relative to the crystal skulls, because I wasn't satisfied with what I had and what I wanted to offer. And I want to take some time before I offer the future versions of this, but I found some really cool components that this one in particular, I'm aiming at just to be a lot of data for you guys to appreciate. And if you've invested in, say, my Amplify the Echoes for Our Soul's Ancient Truths sort of stuff, I guess you guys, we've all been in the trenches doing this in the past, going up against these variables that I say in my videos, and I'll leave it up to you to decide or watch them and stuff. What I got with all the data points of my pattern recognition was the role of the crystal skulls on a much bigger level, right? Because I think they revealed themselves because they wanted to be found after we had huge losses, say from the Ione massacre 25,000 years ago, and us all being on the run for this last 25,000 years ago, and many, many losses, and, you know, grinding us down to this tiny aspect of our epic souls that we are, alright? So, for me, they wanted to be found, alright? And I won't get into all that just yet, alright? But from my perspective, me coming up with this is very poetic relative to all the other variables and connecting Earth to pure source and 10,000 central suns and all the mechanics of the multiverse and what we've been up against, right? So I'll just move on from this. So I'm not going to talk too much in this. I want to offer the clips and not offer too much of my own perspectives. I want to give you, like I said, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, feed him for life, right? I'm going to try and feed your soul so you can engage your intuitive potential in yourself if you've invested in me. Like, a lot of the data is very condensed and offering many perspectives, especially those of you that have invested quite heavily in the sovereignty declaration. I thank you, because you're helping us by clearing all the entanglements that around you to clear the path for the rest of us, okay? But what I'm going to do in this one is offer 3 specific clips. And I want to introduce someone I found very interesting and fascinating, because it was just by sheer chance, you know, I went random in some old stuff, because I don't know if you really hear this in what I say. I really love going back to the 1980s stuff, because the energy of that time and the people are so polite, and I just really respect the people that were grinding against the system back then with no internet and word of mouth and just bookstores around. It was a time where so much was going on, and if you're really into this, like, it was very hard to, this sort of stuff that we're into now that's so easy, it's so accessible in our homes and stuff like that via the internet. These guys had to work their freaking ass off to discover stuff, you know. You only got little tiny bits of information that would take a long time to find and stuff like that. You might get connections and stuff. So I just really want to offer that context of these people, of what they went through and what they found, but also the purity of that time. You know, if they were so dedicated, there was a lot less sort of, if you watched Echoes Part 6, the Discordianism, like the information sort of warfare that's going on to smother the truth, so it's not easy to discern, and people's energy is very messed with, and all the technology and influences that were going on in the world since then and stuff. So I really appreciate that era, and the people that I'm going to introduce, if you've heard me talk about my journey into meditation, I was very fortunate to have this synchronistic sort of 3 people in 2 days tell me about this lady, that Rose Penn, that was 99 at the time, that was like my Yoda to get into meditation. I would go into this group with 30 or 40, 60, 70, 80, 90-year-olds that had been doing meditation for 30, 40 years. And so these types of people are the ones that I really love, because it was a bit like if you've watched the Cocoon movies with the old people that were very spirited. They were like kids in old people's bodies, but they were very lively and energetic and pure and stuff. Dealing with these sort of people is like what I had the fortune to hang out with 10, 15 years ago when I was developing the component of meditation, which is very significant to me. I just live in it all the time, right? So what I want to do in this is, I've done this bit of an intro, and I'm going to offer 3 clips. I'll offer a bit of me in between them, and then a bit of an outro. But the first clip, I'm going to introduce someone that's very profound. I call him the Godfather of Crystal Skulls, Don Crystal Skull. His name is Nick Nocerino, alright? So this first clip, it's of as I said, the Don of Crystal Skulls, Godfather of Crystal Skulls. You probably never heard of him, but as I said about the 80s and 70s and stuff, there was some amazing teachers and stuff that had just never been able to get any exposure in this world, and they've been lost. So I just, as I say, I love offering clips of the people themselves so you can tune into. So he's a mega brat. He's a Don Brado like me. You'll hear. This first clip is about him and his journey as a child and stuff like that. I appreciate him because I dealt with a lot of these people from that era and his age. Because this first clip is from I think it's from 1990, and I'll make sure I put some information in the base, like in the write-up about it and stuff. There's a cool site that you can go and get a lot of, track back a lot of amazing teachers that were supported in that era by the channel that I got it from and stuff. So I really want to help them and get them some support by allowing myself to put this out to you when it was a very truth needle under the haystack of falsehood out there sort of thing, right? And I really honor Nick for his journey and what he tried to offer us, because the way I came about the Crystal Skull variable was listening to some interviews with him that I'd never listened to before, that I'd had for like 10 or 15 years. And I just went quite random when I was really in the trenches doing the sovereignty declaration, as I said, and I was just getting real massive puzzle piece sort of pattern recognition off the chart sort of thing. And to me it was like they wanted me to find it. Does that make sense? And I won't say too much about me, all right? But I'll just offer this clip. It's a little bit, and it will give you a taste of him and appreciation of him and probably more interest about him, and because I'll be offering sort of those interviews I said in the future releases of this theme. But what I'm wanting to do is just, like I said, offer you a lot of contextual data to get your own pattern recognition going, and use this theme that maybe it's never been of interest of you to use it as a pattern recognition tool as well, to see what you get. I don't really want to say the answer from my perspective of how epic they are, and that I'll aim to give you a lot of the data up front so you can play with it yourself in your own pattern recognition skills. So this is pretty cool. It talks about him as a child and his talents, which different intuitive potential skills that are out there, following on the theme that I offered last week. And yeah, it just talks about synchronistic journeys as well, and I love it because yeah, he's obviously had a big connection probably in past lives as well of, working with them, and that's why they wanted to be found now, after many things, all right? So I'm just going to offer you this clip, then I'll offer us two more other that will add more depth to this. This is a bit of an overview of him because I'll be talking about him, but then I'll get into some really cool specifics on the crystal skulls, all right? So enjoy. I'll see you on the other side.
Let me tell you a story. 10 years ago, when I was 21 years old, or was it longer than that, I was roughly about 8 going on 9. And we had a habit of course we were in a depressed ghetto, and food was scarce, and we lived on about $3, $4 a week, and a lot of you remember that. I don't have to get into that. And, 25 cents a day, 30 cents a day was a lot of money. I know some of you will laugh today, but it bought a lot of meat. When you got pork chops at 6 cents a pound, and hamburger was like 4 cents a pound, and fryers were 2, 3 cents a pound, and fruit, they didn't sell it one at a time. You got like 10 pieces of tomato for a nickel or something like that. And everything went to weight when money started coming in. We were hungry a lot. So what we did was we used to watch the obituary. And the reason we watched the obituary is because they always had a feed for the guy who died. So we used to try and cover a certain area, and we were a group of guys with torn knickers. You wore knickers until you were 14, then you got long pants, and you wore shorts until you were about 10, and then you got knickers. It was very interesting. Everything was rules, 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 rules. And our rule was very simple. Find a place that's close by where someone was dead. And we would go in, and they did not have funeral parlors. they had bodies laid out in the house. Anybody remember that? Yeah, I figure a lot of you do. A lot of you look just as young as I am. The bodies were laid out in the coolest room in the house. And of course, people came and brought food and stuff, and you knelt down and you said whatever you're going to say. And of course, after you knelt down or you just bowed your head, you walked over and took a couple of sandwiches and went out. And then after the body went in the ground, everybody on the block brought food. All the kids went in. We always had, if it was 110 degrees, we had heavy jackets on, and candy and stuff went in. And we stole. We were thieves. I'm sorry. Until I went in the service, practically everything I did, I had a swipe. You want to go to movies? We swiped a nickel off the newsstand. And how I ever got in the service and how I ever got to where I am, I have the slightest idea. But anyway, I'm on my way home. And I'm eating a sandwich and thinking maybe I should have took that other sandwich. And, and I go home. We lived up in this cold room tenement. Now, a cold flat is where there's no heat, no hot water, no heat. And we lived on the second floor, and I was going up. And Mom used to do sewing in the evenings. She used to sew people's clothes and other stuff she used to do during the daytime. So we walk up there, and so she had mirrors all over so people could stand there, and the women liked to stand and look at their clothes, like they do in a shop, you know, when you go in a shop. And I was walking in, and I looked down the hallway, and since I was a young child, my grandmother used to teach me how to read mirrors. And I'm a mirror reader. I have scribed mirrors since I was probably 6 or 7, I'm not sure, maybe younger. And I used to do seances. You know, I was a medium, as you call them. We used to call him a spook kid. And do all kinds of things for people, all for a nickel. If you got a quarter, you were loaded. And you always gave your mother 20 cents and kept a nickel, because she always kept the whole quarter. And I looked down there, and there was like a light in the mirror, and I'm standing there, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm thinking, maybe I've had too many sandwiches or bubble gum or something, and I'm looking to see if anybody's in the house, and the light begins to come out of the mirror, and I thought, well, what do I do? And a skull appears in the mirror. From the skull, which I have seen, if you mirror read, the first thing that happens is your body breaks down and becomes a skull, as you know, and then your past lives begin to float in. I thought that's what was happening. But this skull was different. This skull looked straight at me, and out of one eye, this bird flew, and out of the other eye, this cat. I didn't know, I thought it was a mountain lion or something. I didn't know about jaguars then. Came out of the other eye, and they went like this. In the back of the head, a reptile came out. And on each side of the head, a reptile came out. And in the front of the head, a very big reptile came out with feathers on it, and it looked straight at me. I was a little concerned, and I gently left the house and waited till my brothers got home before I went back in the house. And I didn't dare tell anybody about it. As it was, I used to get hit in the head because I'd tell Mom, you can't do that because there's a man in there. And she'd say, what man? And couldn't see him. And she'd say, stop doing that to me, you know. And I wasn't about to tell her about this. The next few years, I had dreams. And the dreams were very interesting in that I was in different periods, but mostly it seemed to me I was in some temple. Several times I was on a platform, and I had this big jade stone knife, and I was cutting someone. And I took a heart out, and I put it on the chest. And the lady with me had a crystal skull. I didn't know what a crystal skull was, but it looked like crystal. So, and she put it in the chest, then they took the heart away. Then there was a series of dreams whereby a baby was born, and the skull was put in, then the baby was separated. But the weirdest dream of all was they cut the stomach, and they took the baby out of the stomach. Now, I used to be there. We used to have babies in the house. I knew where babies came from. Every kid in the block knew where babies came from. I mean, you got your face slapped because you were in the way, and you know your mother's having a baby, your ass, you know, your aunt's having a baby. Go do this, go do that. Babies, we had midwives. You know, I never knew we had to go to a hospital and get a doctor, and I was puzzled. So I didn't dare tell my mother about it because she would consider that dirty talk and slap me. Upstairs was this intern, so I went upstairs. His name was Dr. Frankie Pope, and I said, "Doc, please don't get angry, but can a woman have a baby in her tummy?" So he says, "All women have babies in their tummy." And I said, "Well, can babies come out of the tummy?" So he says, "Certainly." So he takes out this 8mm movie from St. John's Hospital, a training film, and he shows me how the stomach is open and how the baby comes out. And that's my first connection with a cesarean birth. I used to call it Caesar's birth because I couldn't say cesarean. So I'd ask people, "You know about Caesar's birth?" And people look at me and say, "No, you know, what is that?" Everything stopped. We're off the coast of Italy, and we're taking a bombardment, and it was a pretty heavy bombardment. We only got one man hit, but the British ships got hit worse than we did, and we were firing our 40 MMs at the planes and 50 cal and so forth and so on. And all of a sudden, the siren went on, and everything was over. It was pitch dark. There were 31 of us aboard ship. I was in the mine corps, and at this stage, I was in a mine suite. We were after magnetic mines mostly, and we're all on deck. Most of us, it's stark new because you don't get warnings. You just fall out of the sack when there's an air raid, and you hit the guns. And you're lucky the hot things don't hit you and burn you. So we're standing there, and I looked up, and I saw this thing above us, and a lot of the guys looked up. Of the 31 people looking up, 8 people looked up and saw something. 23 people did not. You figure that out. I've never had an answer to that. 23 people did not. We thought, "Oh my God, what the hell is that? That's as big as a city up there. The Nazis have a secret weapon. They really got us this time." I never saw anything so big. It could have took out all of Naples as far as I was concerned. And the skipper came out, and he wanted us to clean the deck, and he says, you know, go aft and do this and hit the bow. And he sees us all standing there like this, and he looks up, and he says, "Excuse my language, Navy talk, what the hell are you looking at? Move." And I said, "We're looking at that." Now, whether he saw something or not, he says, "There's nothing up there, get moving." I don't know why he did that. Well, we had to move, but we were watching. And this thing vanished. It didn't go, it just went, vanished. You know, it's here, it's not there. And I do tests all over the world on astral projection, biolocation, everything. This thing was idiotic. So that night I had a dream, and what was the dream? Woman having babies, skulls. A few days later, we went into the coast of France, and it's a long story. We secured the place, and I had a very bad habit of having relatives everywhere I went. See, the service has a habit. If you have a relative in an area that's at war and you free it, you get a 72-hour pass to go see them because we want the good negotiations. See, so all through Italy, even in Ethiopia, I had relatives, and. I told the skipper, you know, I have an aunt and uncle up at Casaconi, and which is a place I wanted to go up and look at. I wanted to see the castle up there. I'd been reading about it all my life. And he says, "My God, you got more damn relatives than anybody ever met." He says, "Who are they this time?" And I said, "What's my aunt?" And what I had done is I'd gone over and looked at the museum. They have a phone book on Casaconi, and I wrote down some names from the phone book, and I said, I don't know if they're still there, and I'd like to find out. And wonderful. Well, there were some guys from the French Foreign Legion, and I had made friends, and they were in Marseille, and we took off. And this will probably be the end of my personal stories. And we hitchhiked on tanks, we hopped on trucks, we were securing the place. And we went all over. We must have traveled for hours up toward the mountains from the coast. And by God, we finally get dumped somewhere because they have to go straight up and we have to go this way and that. And we're walking along the road and it's dirty, and we pass this church and this old rickety stone wall, and we look up and there's this farm. And I said, let's go up to that farm, see if we can get some water. And we only had one Frenchman who spoke English, and my French was dirty. Not from dirt, from the words. So I didn't dare want to speak. So we went up there, and the guy says, anyway, he told us to get the hell out of there. He says, you're not wanted, we have nothing for you, and they were armed. And why I say they is because there's only one man with a rifle, but you had the feeling that there were other men around that he would challenge us, because we were pretty heavily armed. And for one man to come out with a rifle, that's a foolish thing to do. So we explained to him, well, we just wanted some water and clean up. We had our own food, and we would leave some food for him. And he agreed finally to let us go. So I took my shirts off, and I lowered my pants a little, took everything out, because I want to get all the dirt off, threw water on me, took my chain off my neck, and I put it on the well. And it wasn't a chain, it was a leather. And he starts screaming. And he's pointing at me. And he's getting all excited. He's jumping all up and down the air, and that damn rifle in his hand, I was worried. What did I do something wrong or what? So Alex went over and spoke to him. He says, what's the problem? He says, wait, you know. And he disappeared. 20 minutes later, he comes back with a big bundle, calls us into his shed there. He called it a house. And opens this thing up, and there is a crystal skull. This is my first crystal skull in my hands. And every skull I've seen since has happened this way. Except for the ones in this country where I've gone, you know, been called to go. Every skull I've seen in another country has been by accident. A lot of stories to tell, a lot of pictures, but that's not important. I looked in the skull, a lot of things happened, made a lot of notes, a lot of records. Not at the time, because the crystal skull, the only way I can think of it was my dreams. And there were my dreams inside the skull. There was a man having his heart cut and a skull put in, a woman having a baby and a skull put in, a Caesarean birth with a skull being laid in. And I said to myself, I'm going crazy. This piece of rock is playing back my dreams. And I really didn't know what. And I felt like I was floating up here and down there. And we had a garlic and herb salad. They didn't have any fresh fruit. They had a lot of garlic. And we had some oil that was supposedly smuggled in or whatever. We had brown bread with spider webs. It tastes better that way. And that was what you got. You know, you cut the loaf of bread, it's that big, and there's a big hole in the center. And these webs are in there. So we stayed with him a while, and we left. Now, what had happened was he got very angry with me because I would not take the skull. Number one, I saw no importance in the skull. Sorry, I didn't. I do today, and I've been back there several times, but what do I want to do with the skull? I'm trying to survive. There's a war out there. Who the hell cares about carrying a skull around? What had happened was I told Alex, ask the guy why he's trying to push this thing off on me. He says, because I gave them the code word. What was the code word? 2 crystals on the well. And I'd taken the crystals out of my pocket, I'd taken the crystals off my neck, and I put them on the well. Therefore, I was the courier, and I got to take the skull because the Nazis were infiltrating, the communists were coming down, taking the villages, and the Free French had not got in and secured their towns yet. I had to take the skulls to the vault. What vault? I haven't the slightest idea. Then, I know a lot about it since. It took me a long time to find out I was in the Knights Templar country, where you were very cautious what you did and didn't do, believe me. Some of my friends went. I have never seen them again. But that's neither here nor there. That's Monday. And I said, we can't do it. You know, we finally convinced him we couldn't do it. He disappeared, ordered us out. If we weren't who we said we were, we left. Went back on the road, went up to Casaconi, came back, made arrangements, so forth and so on. 3 weeks later, I told him my uncle had been sick and I should go again. I told him I'd be back as soon as I can get back, and I got another 72-hour pass, which is pretty good because right after that, when I got back to the ship, thank God I didn't have the skull because our ship was sunk, and everything I had, including my crystals, everything, my belongings, was sunk with it. My rebreather wasn't. I was out in the water at the time, so we would have lost the skull. But maybe I would have known where it is, so I can go get it. But that's my first contact with skulls. That is the first time I held a skull in my hand. I saw the British skull. I saw the skull in Paris. And by the way, there will be another skull showing up in Paris within the next 10 days. And if everything is correct, and if the couriers are correct, there will be a skull in Paris within 10 days. And the Paris government will probably not want you to see it or tell you about it. They hide everything. I have no idea why.
Welcome back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey, as always. He's a really interesting guy. Hey, he's just like a genuine, very kind, very dedicated person. So this first one was in the 1990s. So it was like 40 years of in the trenches, like an Indiana Jones. I like to call him the Godfather of Crystal Skulls because he was Italian and stuff, and he grew up in tough times, and you know, he was a rascal, a brat, you know, but there was all sorts of things going. So he talks about his experience in World War II, you know, going through Europe and stuff, and the journeys that he had, which I was not sure where to offer this sort of thing because I wanted to give a bit of context to him, but finding all this other stuff that I allude to last week, in the last couple of weeks, helped add a lot of depth to this. So I don't want to talk too much, all right? I want to get moving on. So one of the cool components I found, and you know, even if you've glanced across the crystal skulls, you know the Mitchell-Hedges skull is the main one. And the cool thing about the Mitchell-Hedges skull was uncorrupted versus the other ones. And I'll just offer that data now because in the future releases I'll offer that, because Nick is really epic in what he offers in the interviews. And so what I want to do, like one of the cool things, this clip from Nick and this lecture came from the 1990s, but the interviews came from 1993, 94, I think, when I offer them in the future releases. And by that time he had established the sole rights to taking photos of the Mitchell-Hedges skull and stuff with Anna Mitchell-Hedges. So this clip I'm going to offer now was from Arthur C. Clarke series that he offered in the 70s, which was before that. And the very cool thing is you actually see her and you meet her, and then you see the skull and what she had to do, and it actually brings some of the skulls together in England, which, like I said, I was just holding off and offering this series because I wasn't satisfied with what I had, and I knew behind the scenes I had a lot of context and more clips, but I just had to really go on the hunt for them. And so I had some victories in finding this stuff. So what I want to offer you here is a clip with Anna Mitchell-Hedges and the Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull, because like I said, Nick had the sole rights from about mid-1980s while he was alive of the rights to take photos of the Mitchell-Hedges skull. So you actually see it in a way that you've probably never seen it before. You get a feel of her as well, and you know, a lot of perspectives right from the, I believe this show was in the late 70s, right? So I'll leave you with this clip now, and I'll see you on the other side, all right? Enjoy.
How did men find the technology 2,500 years ago to melt rock and turn their hilltop fortresses into impregnable glass? Can this German scientist justify his astonishing claim that these relics are an electric battery invented long before the birth of Christ?
The remarkable thing is that these objects are 2,200 years old. That means 2,000 years before electricity was invented in Europe, in Italy.
In Athens, has this distinguished professor found irrefutable evidence of ancient wisdom? Can it be that in the heart of this fragment, lost from a ship 2,000 years ago, lie hidden the cogwheels of the world's first computer? Mysteries from the files of Arthur C. Clarke, author of 2001 and inventor of the communication satellite. Now in retreat in Sri Lanka, after a lifetime of science, space and writing, he ponders the riddles of this and other worlds.
A lot of rubbish has been written about mysterious knowledge possessed by the ancients. They didn't need any help from visitors from outer space to do this sort of thing. Part of a vast irrigation system built in 700 AD, still in full working order, with a little assistance from modern engineers. But there's nothing mysterious about it. We know exactly when it was done, 13 centuries ago. We even know the names of the builders. On the other hand, there are some relics from the past which are truly mysterious because they challenge our ideas about the level of technology that existed at the time. There are also some things from the past which, though they may not challenge any of our existing concepts, are still puzzling and enigmatic.
Heathrow Airport, London. Miss Anna Mitchell-Hedges, newly arrived from Toronto, Canada. With her in her green bag, she has brought one of the greatest jewels in the world, a headache for the security men and $500,000 worth of mystery. In London, the tangled story of her sinister treasure may at last be unraveled. She found it herself in a lost city when she was a girl.
My father was excavating in Central America, in British Honduras, and we found an old ruin of Maya who he thought had something to do with Atlantis. And we excavated for about 7 years, clearing the ground, and then one day we spotted something shining through the stones, and that was my 17th birthday. So we were full of happiness and joy. I'm bringing it to London because I want the British Museum to have a test at it and to find out more of its history if we can.
Burlington Gardens near Piccadilly Circus. Few of the works of art brought here for analysis at the Museum of Mankind present a challenge as great and as frustrating to the experts as the one Anna Mitchell-Hedges unveils in the laboratories in the depths of the building. This is the weirdest gem in the world, the Skull of Doom. The circumstances of its discovery were bizarre. Its origin is unknown, and its powers, some say, are fatal.
The Maya people say it was used to will death or to heal. And like if an old medicine man or a witch doctor was getting too old to perform a ceremony, a young man was chosen, and both laid in front of the altar, and the high priest would perform a ceremony, and the old man, knowledge, would go into this young boy, and the old man would pass away peacefully, But this young boy will get up as a very knowledgeable young man. This crystal skull here has tremendous power, but it also gives you a warning that something's going to happen.
To Anna's father, the crystal skull was the strangest trophy in a lifetime of adventure. Mike Mitchell-Hedges, explorer and celebrity of the 20s, was a man who'd take on a crocodile before breakfast and before donning his trousers. Primitive tribes offered him their choicest brides and hailed him as a god. And using only a rod and line, he reeled in some of the great and monstrous creatures of the oceans. In 1924, in British Honduras, he found his buried city, Lubantun. Mitchell-Hedges believed it was part of the lost Atlantis. With the local people, the Maya, he cleared the jungle from Lubantun's pyramids and platforms. On the last of these expeditions, he brought Anna, his adopted daughter, to the city. It was on her 17th birthday that they first glimpsed the crystal skull amidst the fallen stones.
For days we kept seeing something shining through the stones where the sun was giving, and of course we were anxious to get to that one spot. I went to pick it up because I had smaller hands than the other people did, and I picked it up and showed it to my father, and he just couldn't believe that we found this beautiful crystal skull. As you see, it's got all the little lumps that you have on your own head. And if you look deep down in the eyes, you'll see sockets down in the eyes. And the jaw moves like a human jaw.
Almost from the day of its discovery, this, the largest worked gemstone in the world, has been a mystery. Thomas Gann, who was there, and Lady Richmond Brown stayed silent. Mitchell-Hedges simply said, "It is the embodiment of all evil." But the question remains, was it really an ancient symbol of death that took generations to fashion, or could it have been modern? The only hint lies in an uncannily similar but less intricate skull in the care of the Museum of Mankind in London. It was bought from Tiffany's, the New York jewelers, in 1898, property, it was said, of a Mexican soldier of fortune. Rock crystal is impossible to date, but the Tiffany skull does bear a faint trace, which could betray the moment when a modern cutting tool accidentally slipped. The tests begin on the Mitchell-Hedges skull. It is weighed in water and in air. The result, it's genuinely pure quartz rock crystal.
Oh, that's very nice indeed. 2.65, which is just what it should be. That's absolutely grand.
There are no telltale scratches on this flawless surface to help top gem expert Alan Jobbins date the Skull of Doom.
We see no positive evidence on it that metal has been used. There's no positive evidence of that, but it may have been very skillfully concealed. It's a skillful, sophisticated job. If it's made by primitive people, it's absolutely amazing, because the standard of workmanship is absolutely first class. It must have taken anybody who made this a very considerable length of time, even if he were using modern diamond tools and every modern device that was available to him.
The most likely source for quarrying such a large and immaculate block of crystal would be Brazil. But where and when it was worked are pure guesswork.
Whether it was worked in Honduras or Mexico, or whether it was worked in Europe or Japan or China, I wouldn't care to say. I just wouldn't. In terms of mystery concerning their origins, I think it's likely to remain a mystery for a very long time. I mean, the probability is that the material came from Brazil, and it came from Brazil probably post-1700, sometime like that.
But Alan Jobbins' theory is one with which Anna Mitchell-Hedges totally disagrees.
The skull was made long before that, about 3,600 years ago. This is what the Maya people told us. I lived 7 years with the Maya people as a child, and I lived and ate and slept the same way they slept. on the earth. And once you live with people who are so down to nature, you got to believe them.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that. Isn't she lovely, alright? You would love to just like go and hang out and have tea with her in Canada and stuff. Because it's really cool that I found that, hey, alright, it adds a lot of depth, and a lot of people that are into the crystal skulls have probably never seen that and stuff. So, very cool clips, hey. So this third one, I'm going to go back to Nick Nocerino. I'm trying to remember his name, like Nocerino, alright? So I'm going to go back to Nick Nocerino again, and it's a very cool clip, right? Because I feel it's going to be very poetic that I offered these sort of video clips up front in this first one, so you've got a reference of it. So when I offer the interview sort of stuff later on, you can refer back to this, and it gets really interesting because they talk about the mystical elements of, say, the crystal skulls in them, alright? And you've got to remember, these are like 30, 40 years old and stuff. And that doesn't mean it's bad. I like that because he had direct access to a lot of the stuff and discoveries, and, you know, when things were accessible relative to being locked away, and, you know, a lot of data has been lost. There's this concept called intellectual property. So you imagine he was into these stuff for 50 years, you know, in the trenches and discovery, and had a lot of synchronistic meetings with the skulls themselves. So that, I feel, has been lost, alright? So I'm trying to offer much data here. But as I said, I felt like they were calling to me to want to be remembered and stuff, because they've got a bigger role than most people would even contemplate, because like I said, with my Amplify the Echo series of what we've all been through the last 25,000 years, to me they were far more strategic in that, to be a ally to us to overcome what we've had to endure, but we lost bad, okay? And I've always had a fascination of the Central America and all that sort of stuff, but I feel I'll give a lot more wows, like when I put all this together for you, alright? So what I'm going to offer is the third clip, and it's Nick, going back to Nick again, and he's actually showing images of the crystals, like Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull, and talking about its amazing qualities. There was one really cool component in the second clip I offered about how their consciousness could be transferred and stuff, right? That might sound massive to you, but what I realize, it's way bigger than that, right? But it's just, like I said, I'm adding food to that conscious potential, conscious Tetris expansion of awareness and appreciation of things relative to all the data that I've offered in all my videos and stuff, right? So what I'm going to do is offer this third clip, and it's going to be fascinating, right? Just to give you a taste of how vast they are, but with the images and him talking about it directly. So I'll leave you with it now, and I'll see you on the other side, alright? Enjoy.
This is the Mitchell-Hedges skull, and can we get the lights out? This is the Mitchell-Hedges skull, and we're running color test on it. The action in the skull, when we say action, it's where we photograph images, is here. You may or may not see something. In the videos, you'll see it a lot clearer. And here. Then the action moves across here and comes out here. The last place you see anything is you'll see faces will come through here, this area, right across there, and moves this way, and the action stops here. This was in 1985. We spent 21 days doing color tests. In these particular shots, we try to narrow our photos down to just photograph this, for instance. We shoot all photos 7 times. Even after we take them, we reshoot them 7 times. Again, we have action here. This is a black box, by the way, if you want to know what it is. You do that so you won't have reflections. We take it with normal light, and we put them in black boxes, and we take them with no light at all, so you get an idea where we're going. The action here, for some reason or other, starts in here. It takes a few moments for your eyes to adjust. Then please look in here, and you'll see people coming through what may be a cave. If you see it, fine. If you don't, that's fine. And then there's some action here. The rest of the action moves for some reason through here and ends up here where each tooth begins to become a woman or a man. I don't know if you can see it. I'm on a side, so it's very hard for me. The last place that anything happens in this shot is here. We don't know why color does this, but certain colors cause certain things to happen. This is a clear glass skull, the Mitchell-Hedges skull, for those who have seen it. This is touching the skull, and look at what happens to it. This is simple human touch. You see the whole brain structure taking place? There's where the pictures will come out, but we're more interested in this. There's where this will eventually become ladies, and in here. I don't know if you can see them. If you see them, fine. You know, I'm not trying to tell you to look here or there. I'm just trying to tell you where we look. And then we photograph this, then we photograph that, then we photograph this area. And we have those in separate runs. These are some of the stones we use to test the skull. We used every stone, over 300 of them, that was known at that period, roughly 3,000 to 5,000 years ago. They weren't all the stones known as there are today. We used all the stones used on the high priest buckles, you know, belts and apron, not only for the Hebrews, but for the Assyrians, the Babylonians, and for the high priests of Peru, Aztecs. We had no idea what the Mayas used. These are water stones, and these were the ones that activated the skulls the most. These are rings that were taken from tombs, and some of these rocks and stuff were taken from tombs. And we're trying to give you an idea of some of the stuff we do. I'm trying to go fast. This is the Maya skull. The action will start here, and eventually it goes to the sides, up through the nose and down through the sides. You'll see here is where the action starts. You'll start seeing people in here. Then larger people will come in here in these areas. And it takes a few moments for your eyes to adjust, but you'll see people kneeling and standing all through this area. If you see something, fine. If you don't, that's fine. You'll have more time if you're there Monday. This is Peruvian whistle, Dr. Steve Halpin, who has been up on the stage here. Do you remember whoever, we were here when he was here, wasn't he? Yes. Yeah. He is doing some sound tests. These are the ancient Peruvian whistles, and we're doing some runs with them. And they do several things. For instance, they create another skull in here, which is completely different, and the skull begins to open up and become people, and then we get people all through this area. And certain sounds on his whistles made certain things happen. This is the first time we had a report of someone getting hurt from a skull. We had a lady who had a certain part of her body got burned during these tests, and I believe Dr. Halpern, his arm or leg, what was it, arm or leg, Steve? Leg got burned. That's Dr. Halpin when he was in a normal state. You see, this is the area that's the sound opens up first, mostly. These are the images. I don't know how old these are or how new they are. The ones I have at home are very ancient, very ancient. I dug them out myself. There's where you want to look. You want to look here, then you want to look up here. We ran these through every test conceivable. Even in clot tests, we ran like all blue shots from blue shots, and all red shots, all green, all brown, all yellow, all black, all white. We put them in moon shots. You should see something in here. If you don't, I'm sorry. In our surveys, which are over 25,000 of them, which have been returned, everyone reports this area is very alive to them. So either you do or you don't. That's entirely up to you. You want me to leave in a moment so you can adjust? Do we have time? Yeah. We don't know what these are. Things come and go in skulls. We have no idea what they are. Can you see here? And then the action goes across here. Last but not least, we have things that fly through here. And it's very hard to photograph what the video sees, because if you don't pinpoint it, you don't get anything. Here, here, and down in here. Then the people coming out through the wall. What we have learned is that these things are like memory banks. They seem to record. This is the amethyst skull now in San Jose. This is a Mexican matrix, probably from the San Felipe mines off the San Felipe fault. This is roughly dated in the pickings about 4,500 years BC. It's carved against the axis, as are all skulls. So there was no way that it should have been done, as most museums, curators say they shouldn't exist, but they do. Your action will be here and in here. These will take a little longer to see action. You see it through here? That's where the action, it comes off of the white matrix. And pretty soon we have battles going on all through this area. And then through here. We've had some good offers on that skull, but it's gone in hiding. And they won't tell us where it is. This is how we determine how old a skull is. These artifacts, they got $55,000 for this artifact. This one sold for about $70,000. Do you think looting a tomb is a good, profitable business? Yeah, you darn right it is. And this is another skull, which is not important right now. But these are the way we do it. We get the artifacts. It's from the artifacts we make the carbon tests, and which are either within, depending on how old it is, within 100 to 500 years. Now, that is not Aztec. That is Maya. Definitely Maya. It comes from the Maya highlands, and this tomb has 3 definite skulls that we know we took, that were taken out of there, and 3 others in the area. We believe that there are several others that we want. We know where one is, and we are tracking him. And he'll get a message soon to do something about it. This is a similar skull. This is roughly, it's amethyst, by the way, it's clear amethyst, and the action is all here, and it's mostly spaceships, or what people call spaceships. I don't know anything about spaceships. I can tell you all kinds of stories about them, but I don't take a position. But somebody's either a liar or there's a hell of a lot of action going on out there. But you'll see the action will move in here, and we'll see in this, which is now, we're going into late 12th century, early 13th century. That's what the artifacts show, and this may be older or not. You're seeing what we call UFO battles. Unfortunately, it's hard to show it when we shoot off and try and get slides made. This is where your action is. By the way, for the benefit of those who don't know, this is in Sedona. I can't tell you any more than that. This is the next place we get action. Starts here. Then this opens up. And you can see right through it, by the way. That's kind of scary, just looking at the face. He would never smile, I don't know why. The other skulls seem to smile. See? This is some sort of a ceremony that goes on down here. This is where we get all the action in battles that look like extraterrestrials or ETs or whatever you want to call them. This is another skull. We'll just say that this is the Marin skull, very, very old. We're doing all our tests. We test with, first we start out, these are old skulls. This one is about 5,000 years old. Some of them down there are a little older. The one I wear is close to 5,000. And we take every known precious stone and we test them on the skulls, and then we go through every rock conceivable during the time periods that these things would have been made in. That's the best way of describing it, and the things that happen are very interesting. There's where the action goes. This is in a secret group, and plus some other skulls, and I'm not allowed to divulge where or what. The action, by the way, is here. I don't know if you can see anything, but that's where the action is. And later on, it will come here through a cave. This will open up wider, and you'll see people walking through. And the people we see do seem to be of the period of the 12th and 13th century. The armament, because we go into the various books on the subject. We have a tremendous library. My library alone is over 5,000 books, and most of them are reference books. Here we start getting white all through the skull. This is a solid purple skull, amethyst skull, but it just shows you that by concentration, this is all done by concentration and a stone in each eye, we begin to change. And here we get something that people claim are like Egyptian something or other, or whatever it is. I don't claim they are anything. Here we're testing one of the skulls. The skull is put in this particular solution, and a laser is shot through the skull to tell if it's one piece or not, if the carving is one piece. This is Hewlett Packard, and the skull disappears. If it's natural quartz crystal, it virtually disappears in a solution. The reason that the light is shined through it is to look for any breaks. And all we know is it's carved the wrong way. Some idiot carved this wonderful thing and didn't know what he was doing. And like one guy says here, he should have been punished. But this thing has outlasted him in a few other worlds. This is called a transformation. All the balls and all the material we had, all the crystals around the skulls, start picking up the pictures of the skulls. I don't know if you can see it, but everything we saw in the skulls began to appear in everything. And for months, the people who have these keep seeing things in them. So the crystal balls that have been found with the skulls, which we were testing, and the crystals we were using, are, believe it or not, showing pictures today. Why? Please don't ask me on the slides, I dear. This is Frank Dorland, who has never copied a skull in an affidavit we have, and never sold a copy of any, or never sold pictures of any. Make your own decision. He's a very nice man, but he, like me, sometimes lies. This is a Mitchell-Hedges skull. This is a blue, we have the blue laser on this. I don't know where that's coming from, but colors appear. Sometimes it pushes one color out and it makes another color come in. What happens to the skulls after a period of time under color? They virtually disappear and become dots, which you'll see, and we have calculated that as a mathematical formula, and we have several people trying to figure the formula out. These, for instance, like these people who would be there, just become dots, or this group here become dots. And we have skulls that just disappear or duplicate. You'll have double skulls, and they're all dots. They either multiply or they disappear. Brain. Red keeps appearing, we don't know why. Here's where the action is. Starts here, these things come in and land here, and they come out of here, and they move that way. There's some sort of a building here, we think it's a pyramid, we don't know. And it goes on and on from there. But all of the slides begin to change. You get an idea. And you can make up your own mind from here if you see anything or not. These are not out of focus, I'm sorry to tell you. We use 4 cameras, plus 1 camera underneath and 1 on top. 4 sides. We have a video camera photographing everything everybody is doing. And very little we know is sometimes what's coming out on the film. Here we switch to green. Where the rest is coming from, we have no idea. The black box is being flooded with green. The action, by the way, is here and moves this way. The teat will just expand and the bottom will disappear. Last place you want to look is here, here, and here. This is where we usually see the ETs, and down through here in this area. I call them ETs. I didn't know what they were when I first saw them. We just name them that. Here we see them again when they come in and they move across and they go down this way. These, for some reason or other, just go up. I've never figured out what. And we have this break of some sort of temple at the top of the skull. This is a face that appears 1,000 times. We've got over 10,000 photos in nearly every skull. Can you see that? Right there, the eyes, nose, head. We don't know what it is, but it's certainly not anything of our time. This is where the skull begins to push everything away and virtually gets to where it's going to disappear. We are flooding it with color. You'll never believe it, but it is pushing it all out. And it's going into a different shape. Actions in there, and around there. I got to go fast because I'm running out of time. Your action starts here. You have some what we call UFOs today that will come in this way and go down through here. And there'll be a battle up here somewhere. There's usually, I think there's 2 look with green and red lights and 2 with blue lights, blue and white lights that fight each other all the time. These are runways. Anyway, that's where some kind of craft moves. For lack of a better word, I call it UFO. And I'll tell you why it's a UFO, and you decide in a few minutes whether it is or isn't. This is where the orange is being shot up from the floor up through the glass box. I'm sorry if I'm going too fast, but now here we're shooting up. I'm laying on the floor, 2 dogs are licking my face, my tripod's aiming up, and I'm trying to get what I'm seeing. These are teat, by the way, and we get action through here, and we get all kinds of moving craft, and we're trying to pin it down, but the video does better than this stuff. Wait a minute. What that is, I'll leave it up to you to decide. From this, which we were shooting, we ended up with something like 11 pictures in different color, everything from blue, green, yellow, with this and another station. You ever see these space station we shot up? Well, there's one right in the bottom of this skull. And you can put the light on so we can get back to wherever we were.
How many skulls did you find altogether?
I found 16. I can't hear you.
How many have been found total in all?
I worked on 16 in all. There's nobody in the world that's worked on more than 2.
16's all that's been found?
That's right. And we've worked on 400 other skulls, but they're not all rock quartz crystal. Yes.
If we wanted to, do we have the technology to carve that sort of thing?
Yeah, anybody can carve a skull, but you can't carve these. These are carved, number one, against the axis. You know what that means? You ever carve a diamond against the axis? They shatter. This is 7 hard, and it should be easy to do, you think. Every crystal we've had them carve against them, and it's cost me a lot of money. Crystal's very expensive when you buy big chunks. Very expensive. And we'll even talk about the new skulls being carved. We have pictures and photos of everything that's been carved so far and delivered in the United States. But carving a skull is no problem. Okay?
What about against the axis?
No, we have not. Hewlett-Packard could not duplicate it. They mentioned that it would take over a year, 24 hours a day with their latest equipment. They were not sure they could even duplicate it, and the cost would be $500,000 in advance, and the balance as we went. And when you're making $699 on Social Security, you don't get excited.
Hey, welcome back. Fascinating, hey. So, I've been brewing this series for a while and I've got a lot more to offer. I don't know when I'll do the other ones. I might give myself some time to brew more data, but I found a lot of components beyond these ones. But really interesting, hey, you know. I'm sure many of you have had more interest in the crystal skulls over, say, the last 10 or 15 years, depending how long your spiritual journey has. I don't know how much they've come into your awareness, or, you know, just fascinating that, you know, they're just mystery, you know, we don't know, you know, but I would offer it is very known, all right? And when we get into the next releases, going into more data with Nick directly answering questions from the early 80s, and there's a very specific reason, like I said, he was right in there and he was decades into, you know, committed to them and stuff. So I don't think, like I say, I call him the Godfather of crystal skulls, like Don Crystal Skull. He's definitely Italian and stuff, you know what I mean? He's the crystal skull mafia, like truth mafia, right? But yeah, it's just really interesting. And my purpose in offering this is just to add more wonder to our existence in the universe and our planet and our amazing home, right? And all that's going on and how epic we are as souls. I mean, many of us have all probably had past lives in that era of, you know, Central America and South America and stuff, and it's always been a really interesting region for me, you know, with all the ancient sort of stuff and what's gone on and stuff. The whole conquest of Central and South America with the conquistadors, you know, searching for gold and money and wealth and all that, to me, all right, it was going after this technology, and all that other stuff, destroying the cultures and stuff, was, you know, undermining the defense of them and stuff. So when we get into the other videos, I'll speak more about that. But I would offer that these had a far bigger role than what we can even appreciate. Just imagine we've gone through a lot of, you know, we've lost badly because of the disadvantage we've been at with the corruption of the pure source and the invasion of the multiverse and all that sort of stuff, and how significant Earth is in the multiverse and all that. So yeah, I just want you to contemplate all that, brew with it. Maybe go back and revisit some of my older content. Maybe go back to part 3 and 4 of Amplify the Echoes of Our Soul's Ancient Truth. Just go back and revisit some of the stuff in the recent months and stuff. You know, you guys, if you've invested into the Universal Sovereignty Declaration, then see what you get with this, alright? Just see that they're amazing technology that no one has any answers for. And I would offer that the reality under control, under occupation, and the spiritual community that's, for my part, very compromised. So it's, some of the GSFs I've done recently have actually freed a lot of that up, and these truth shoots are able to get through. Does that make sense? So there's momentum on our side. Everything seems against us, but we're so epic. We're still here, alright? So I hope you get a lot from this. I don't really want to offer too much. I've probably already gone past my limit of my line. I've crossed my own line of what I was going to say. But I'm wanting to inspire you to think bigger, dream bigger, you know? Employ that imagination, that conscious Tetris, the pattern recognition skills that are epic in you, that you've been able to endure and get past so much to get here and find me this truth brat and falsehood, frackery sort of mechanic reality that we're all in and stuff. What I want to do is probably leave it here, but it's been an interesting few weeks. I don't know what you went through last weekend. There was 7 or 9 X or close to X class solar flares. It was like the biggest weekend in over 20 years relative to solar activity and stuff, and there's a lot more coming. You know, there's some big solar flares coming and stuff. And then when I was doing the recording of those, that other video, the flares were really going hard and stuff, and I know there's huge uncertainty and stuff like that. I'll just show the image. I haven't shown this for a while. It's on my Instagram. This is about mastering the moment, right? If you're getting overwhelmed by stuff, just pull it all back to this moment, alright? Just see how vast you are. You're probably going through upgrades and getting codes back, and a lot of that sort of stuff is going on, you know? While there's pressure and, say, the system wants to put the foot on us, you know, to crush us. I think we're out the other side of it, right? We're just playing out many things, and we're the ones anchoring in our locations around the world the potential for everyone else, right? So if you've been through a lot of hardship and stuff, I would offer that that's confirmation how vast and epic you are. And maybe it's just a transition to getting to that point, and it's not been easy for a lot of people. I feel like those of us that are really invested in this are probably taking a lot of the brunt that will make the path easier for the rest to come. But just hang in there, pull it all back into this moment. You know, this is about the baggage in the past and the uncertainty of the future. Just pull it all back into this moment, you know, and get that potency. The green is the indicator of the potency, you know. The further you think in the future and the past, your potency is reduced, alright? So I would just offer, if you master your moment and get your potency better, whatever is to come, you're stronger for it, and you deal with that in that moment, you know? So just think about that, okay? So I'm not wanting this to be a big video relative to me talking and stuff. I hope this is just fascinating for you. I hope offering these components together with these amazing people and what they've endured and what they've been able to get through to us. I love if you've ever watched the Rogue One, the Star Wars movie, where getting the Death Star plans, you know, and Vader was tracking him down. I think I used that in Amplify the Echo Part 3 of getting the truth out. A lot of people in the past have endured a lot to give us this information now, to be aligned to the truth and the potential of humanity in the universe as a whole, right? So I thank you for being here. I thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey. I hope you're really fired up. I hope you've gone through a lot. You're expanding. All those challenges you're going through are very rich. They have a lot of meaning in life. And I hope you're strong in the region you're in and anchoring all your potential for the rest of us. So I thank you for your commitment and your investment in Earth Mother and the potential of us, our amazing human species, and the universe that are cheering us on. I can show you there's a lot out there, especially Pure Source is very there if you want to tune into it. And the rest of the universe is on our side. They're done with these frackers. No one wants them here, right? So we're epic on the soul level to have the courage to make it through now. You're one of a few that are here, right? So why don't you take it to the next level and enjoy everything that you're going on, master your moment, and just realize, you know, what doesn't kill us make us stronger, right? I know a lot of people out there are far more epic than what they realize, and that mastery of the moment and enduring everything and realizing you've overcome so much on a soul level to be here now. Why don't we take it to the next level? Why don't we just see where we can go and keep our infinite and our intuitive potential open to all possibilities on offer before us, alright? So thanks for being here. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of your journey. I hope you get a lot from this, and we'll see what we offer in the future. As I said, I might allow myself to brew what comes up and stuff before I offer the next ones in this series. And I've got plenty of other videos to release, alright? So until next time, guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. Thanks for all you're enduring and all you're going through. And we'll see you next time. Right from Down Under out.
In December, heading for the city lights. 975, sharing each other, nearer than farther. Scent of lemon drips from your eyes. We are the people that rule the world. What's running in every boy and girl? All rejoicing in the world. Take me now. We can
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.